Global peace is the foundation block needed by societies to address equality, diversity, and inclusion. This dialogue amplifies the voice of a Ukrainian artist whose art has transformed to sport, call for action, call for social action. Please join in as a listener to absorb striking realities of our world today, which unfortunately is at war.
The Winning Side, a series of dialogues about winning themes such as diversity and inclusion, creating a social impact, and leading change. Subscribe now to stay in the know.
Hello and welcome to the Winning Side podcast. This is your host, Sara Hasan, and this International Women's History Month was all about breaking the bias. The hard reality is that the month has been overshadowed with a shout out for global peace. As Britain marches today to show solidarity to Ukraine, the Winning Side podcast welcomes on board Alyona Zhouk. Alyona is a 33-year-old illustrator and tattoo artist from Kyiv, Ukraine. In her own words, she shares that after Russia started its full-scale war against Ukraine, she took her 8-year daughter, Aliza, and her dog and her cat out of the country. She's temporarily based in Konstanz, Germany, and I'd like to welcome Alyona today to share her thoughts and educate us and help us how we can support Ukraine together. Welcome on board.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure. Am I pronouncing your name right?
It's Alyona Zhuk.
Alyona.
But you're quite close to it.
Okay, I'll try pronouncing it right. Alyona?
Alyona, yes.
Alyona, okay. Thank you, Alyona, for joining. And I want to start off with a disclaimer, rather. And I'd like to pre-apologize because I appreciate it's a very tough time for you. In case during the conversation I say something or a sensitive topic is touched where you feel that you can guide me to make it a more safer conversation, please feel free to stop or interrupt. I'll try to make it as comfortable as I can. But starting off on a very light note, I have not been to Ukraine, and perhaps many other listeners might not have been. So why don't you take us to Ukraine and tell us 2 or 3 things that you really want us to know about Ukraine?
Well, if I taken you to Ukraine right now, you would see a very awful picture, actually, because many cities that were beautiful and alive and powerful, they are now destroyed and constantly suffering from airstrikes and from shootings and from attacks from Russian soldiers. And now Ukraine is on fire and suffering, and also most cities are constantly hearing the air raids alarms, asking people to go to the bomb shelters. But before Russia decided to attack us, Ukraine was and will be, after the victory, a beautiful country. I think that one of the things you should know about Ukraine is that it has beautiful nature, beautiful architecture, and unbelievably beautiful landscapes, and they are very different in different regions. So you might see forests and fields and rivers and the sea and mountains. So whatever you like, you will find it in Ukraine. Also, Ukraine is famous for its strong agriculture, and we are an exporter for many countries of agricultural products and also of some iron steel products. So we have a lot of stuff that we share with the world economically. And also, of course,
Ukraine. Good food, huh?
Yes, yes, very, very tasty food. And also Ukraine has a very rich culture, including food, including music, including crafts of different um, directions and of different styles. And now Ukraine has been transforming its culture into something modern, in something very up to date, and the industry of different types was evolving, but still nurturing the heritage of our culture. So that's Ukraine.
It sounds beautiful. It sounds like a full natural package. And
Yeah.
I hope the world can come together to preserve it and stop what's happening right now, because no solutions are ever achieved by war, for that matter. If if we kind of go back and share your um, personal experience as to what happened, and how did you find out about the war? Was it something that you had expected in the back of your mind? And just want to know your journey from Kyiv to Germany in your own words, please, if that's okay.
Well, everyone has been talking about the possibility of the upcoming aggression from Russia for some time previous to what happened. And there were a lot of posts on social media and a coverage in the news media saying what to do, like how to pack your emergency kit, like emergency backpack, what to have on you if something happens. But if to be honest, completely honest, I was not expecting the war. Like Ukraine has been at war already for 8 years, because Russia started its war in the eastern Ukraine 8 years ago, and then took Crimea from us. And we were suffering from war for 8 years, but it was not the full-scale war. And I found out, I was sleeping as a kid on February 24 when it started, and I was woken up by a home ring from the street. It was my ex-husband. When he heard the blasts and the sirens, he took the kid and packed, and they went. They couldn't reach me on the phone because I turned off the phone for the night. So they came up to me to ask me go with them, because he was taking her to the western part of Ukraine, which was far from Kyiv and from eastern regions. But I refused to go because I still did not realize what would happen lately.
You had hope.
Yes, I had hope and naivety. I was naive enough to think that it will just be over in a couple of days, that it would be just like a show of some kind from Russian part, and then it will just go away. But it didn't. I stayed in Kyiv. They left, and I stayed in Kyiv for a bit more than a week. And I was talking to my kid on the phone, and she would constantly ask me why I'm not with her and why she could not come to me back to Kyiv. And I would tell her that it was not safe in Kyiv, and she would ask, then why are you still there? And I would just say that I'm here because I still have my home, and I still have hope, and we will see each other soon. And then 2 Russian rockets hit the TV tower in Kyiv, which is really close to my home. So my home still was safe, but I felt the explosions. It was so close that I felt it with my body, and my cat, he fell off the cabinet and was crawling to me as a snake would do. Like he hadn't have any legs left because he was so scared and terrified with the feelings, with the vibration and with the sound. And it was terrifying for me. And I guess that for me it was a changing point, because I realized that I can't know if I'm safe anymore, and that I just could not find any more arguments for my kids to explain why I was staying.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to leave, and I found a businessman who was evacuating women and kids from Kyiv to western parts. So I took that opportunity and left for Lviv. Lviv is a western city. It's close to the Polish border. It was still kind of quiet there. There were a lot of evacuated people already, but it was kind of safe. So I went there, and my parents' friends, they let us to stay at their apartment, which was empty at that moment. And they told me that we could stay there for as long as we need. We stayed there for a week, and I thought that our journey was over. I thought that we would stay there until it calms down, and then we come back to Kyiv. But then we went out for a walk with our dog, and we heard our first air raid siren in Lviv. And it was very loud, and it was very scary, because I have heard the blasts already, and I did not want my kid to have to experience that, even if it was still safe, even if we were not to get hurt. I still did not want her to experience the war as it was. So I felt the difference between sirens in Kyiv when I was on my own and with her, because I was
Kind of exchanges
for her, and I realized that we need to move out of the country, because I just wanted, like, I felt really hurt that I could not make all the children in Ukraine stop suffering from that. I could not make them stop sleeping in the bomb shelters and staying dehydrated in the occupied cities. I could not help them, but I could at least take my kid out and let her not hear that and not see that. So we left, and through friends, I found a man from the suburbs of Warsaw in Poland, and he agreed to host us for a couple of days. And I was constantly trying to pay for something, because I was trying to rent an apartment for us, to pay for a ride, to pay for our place. But everyone, since we crossed the border, everyone was saying, no, you don't pay for anything. You are our guests. We can't help Ukraine by fighting for it, but we can help a Ukrainian family to survive. So he would pick us up at the Polish-Ukrainian border by car. So it was a 5-hour ride for him from his home to the border. He picked us up, and then we drove another 5 hours to his place. Then we stayed at his home, and he introduced us to his family, and they were super friendly and warm for us, and they fed us, and they took us to a bit of kind of sightseeing. It was not much of sightseeing for us, but still. And then,
try to make you comfortable, try to make you at home.
Yes, and it felt like home from some side. I mean, it still was very weird, and I think it will take a lot of time to explain how a person who was made to leave the home, even though the home is still there, but still I can't go back until it's safe.
Yeah.
So even though it felt very warm, it still was like we are homeless, like we don't have a home anymore. And then we went to by train to Germany, to the Polish-German border, and there beautiful German people picked us up with the car and took us across the entire Germany to their home. And all of those people who were picking us up and driving us, feeding us, hosting us, those are all people I have never met before. And many of them connected with each other also only after there was a need to help us get there. So I'm super grateful for these people whom I met through social media, and they just supported us and took us, and we are now staying at a beautiful apartment of a very nice woman who is hosting us, and she also just says, like, you can stay for as long as you need. You can think of it as of your home for now.
So humanity still exists, and it's amazing that, you know, social media could connect people in this time of difficulty. But Alyona, what really intrigued me and what I feel really inspirational about you is that you leveraged your art to support your country, and you kind of, you know, there was one way of getting sad and falling down into a deep dark hole, and there's another where you like, no, even if I'm able to kind of step away, I'm still there, and I'm going to support my country through my art. And art has amazing power, I believe, in terms of bringing about social action and, you know, educating and influencing people. I'd like to know more about what's the idea behind your artwork, and what kind of message are your illustrations trying to convey?
When I found myself at home, I mostly for last years I was doing tattooing, so I was not an illustrator that much. But when I was at home and I knew that I can't ink people anymore, and I'm sitting at my corridor on the floor hiding from the possible airstrike, I felt that I can't, like, I'm not trained to fight, and I'm not a doctor, and I don't have a car and a driver's license, so I would not be useful as a volunteer. So I thought that the only thing that I can still do is to draw, and I knew that everyone in Ukraine started donating to the army as much as they could. But I thought that maybe there are still people who would donate more if they could have something in exchange for that, like as a token of my appreciation of their help, and especially the foreigners who were not yet donating, and they maybe found it difficult to find a way to donate, to find the right account or something like that. So I would just post that I am ready to draw a small cartoon illustration, like a pro-Ukrainian cartoon portrait of you, if you donate at least $35 to support Ukrainian army. And a lot of people decided to support this initiative. And then a bit later, my daughter, she also offered to do that, to draw in exchange for some donations. So I also posted that, and then the New York Times picked up our story and posted about her, and shared my Instagram account, and it helped a lot. And we've already fundraised over $20,000 for Ukrainian army, and yeah, and the list of people who are now waiting for our art is huge. But I'm happy about that, because I will be drawing for as long as I need. because I am so grateful for every donation, for every support, and every sharing even, and every positive comment, for everything, every part of it. But also drawing these portraits, I felt that I kind of have so much to tell, but I don't have words, because words do not express the feelings entirely, because there are no words to explain what I feel and how much I feel about it constantly, like every minute. And I knew that I was not the only one there feeling those feelings and having those emotions and fears and hope and love and gratitude to Ukrainian army, to Ukrainian volunteers, to foreign countries who hosted us, who helped us, who supported us. So I started drawing some, basically some feelings of mine, and just shaping them into some patriotic designs. And I felt that people liked it and people felt it. People knew what I was showing them because they felt the same way.
It was impactful. I mean, I for one felt like that, because when I, to be honest, I just saw your art pieces and illustrations on Instagram, and I was like, wow, yes, I want to kind of give to this cause. I will share your Instagram account in the description for those who are listening, and any of the details that would be helpful. It'd be really nice of you to share, because again, to your point, there's some people who want to help, especially internationally, but do not know what are the right sources to help, and it really kind of, is a good guidance.
Yeah, well, I'm open for any messages. If people want to help but they do not know how, I will find a way to explain, to send them the right links to right organizations, and I will help you help us in any way possible. But also with the art, the other part is that first, like during the first week, probably maybe first week and a half or 2 weeks, it was nice to and easy to find some positive subjects for my illustrations, because it was easy still to make fun, like to make people laugh, not make fun of the war, but just to use some funny topics. Yes, there were, like, I don't know if you've read it, but for instance, there was a story about a Ukrainian woman who was at her balcony in Kyiv, and she saw a Russian drone, and she just hit it, throwing a can of jarred tomatoes. So, like, I was choosing those stories to show how incredible Ukrainians are and how fight is being held by everyone, by every Ukrainian. Everyone is doing whatever needs to be done and whatever they can. But now, honestly, it's been harder and harder to find these positive topics, because the more and more people are being killed, and the more homes are being destroyed, and children die, and adults die, and they suffer. And for now, I guess my art has been turning into sharing my condolences with everyone who suffered the war. Yeah. Because I'm safe now here with my kids in a very safe environment, in a very friendly place, and we are capable of living our life. And there are a lot of people who don't have that luxury anymore in Ukraine. So now I'm just trying to express how painful it is for me as well, even though I'm safe, but it hurts a lot every day. Every piece of news, every person, every city, every building, everything hurts. And I think that all Ukrainians, even though who are in diaspora and who were not taken out of Ukraine by the war, even they feel the same way.
Yeah, because your friends are there, your family is there, your country is there, your memories are there. It's your patriotism is there. So you can't disassociate a person from the country in any way, even if that person's taken refuge. So I totally kind of support your emotions on that. So something I noticed in your Instagram once again was a scribble notebook. What was that about? Was at a point where art and words were not enough that you reserved to scribbling about it, please?
That is an anxiety notebook. We call it that with my kid. I came up with the idea because I felt that she's disturbed by the experience, because even though we are safe and we are in a very nice environment, sleeping in a bed and having our clothing and eating nice food, but still she knows that she can't see her dad, who can't leave the country, and she can't see her grandparents, and she can't get back to her bed in her room at her home. So she, from time to time, would just start being very anxious and angry and kind of misbehave, but in a way that I know that she's tired and overwhelmed with everything, and she just sometimes wants to go home. So I told her that I feel her. I know that she's in pain and in discomfort, and that sometimes when we argue, we are not angry at each other. We are just angry because of the situation, because of the war, because of the unknown, because of everything. So I suggested that we buy a notebook and we call it the Angry Anxiety Notebook. And whenever we feel pain or anxiety, or we want to yell at each other, we would just like scribble there our emotions off, and maybe then after we spilled it out like that, we just start thinking of what do we feel, and we share it, and we try to talk and explain each other what are the emotions we are living through now, and try to support each other.
Thank you for sharing that, and so much strength to you and Elisa. For I hope that anxiety notebook soon become a happy notebook, and you can just draw flowers and I don't know, just put in spring in there somehow, and happiness.
We will.
So I have Ukrainian friends and I have a working relationship with Ukrainian friends, and something that I've taken away from them is that that media is portraying a very different picture when you compare Russian media to the world media. I'm not sure if you are fluent in Russian or if you are following up on any Russian media, but do you see a discrepancy there? But if you're not fluent in Russia, we can, I mean, in Russian, it's okay not to comment.
I'm fluent in Russian, and everyone in Ukraine knows Russian and understands Russian, but I would not, at this point, I would not call Ukrainian media because they are basically, there are Ukrainian media and there are Russian propaganda. So I would not put them as two equally parts of communication here.
Yes.
So there are Ukrainian media of different background, of different ownership, but and as of me, I am only following those whom I've been following before the war, whom I trust. So I can't speak for all the media in Ukraine, because Russian propaganda was also invading Ukrainian media sphere as well before war for years, as well as Russia did with all European countries, and like everywhere Russian propaganda was propaganding. So now there are Ukrainian media who are reporting for Ukrainians what is happening in Ukraine and abroad, and there are also Ukrainian English language media. For instance, the Kyiv Independent who are a strong Ukrainian English language voice, telling what is happening for the Western countries to know from the first hand. And there are Russians who are trying to tell their story, but there's no point in calling them media, because they are basically trying to...
It's propaganda.
They are trying to make the world and the Russians believe that they are good guys who are trying to save us from something. So if you want me to explain basically what's happening, I can. So they think that Russians think that we are suffering from a Nazi regime, which is untrue. And the like, now Ukraine is united as it has never been before, and
Yes.
everyone.
And I really admired the presence of your president and the way he's coming on media. I don't know what your thoughts are on it, but it is an admirable leadership, I must say, from a foreign eye.
Yes, now he, well, he for me, I did not vote for him. He has a story as a comedian, artist, and
yes.
I was not voting for him, and I did not understand people who did for so many reasons, basically.
Okay.
But when the war started, he turned to us with some other side, and he is really showing the great leadership now, and he's facing the challenges I don't think any president thought he would have to face. So now we are trusting him, and basically everyone is praising him for being there and for doing the job he's doing now.
And do you think the world is doing enough? Is there any call for action for the world or for the organizations? What is it that you would like to see happen? What is it that you would appeal for?
I would not want to be in a position of a person complaining about the Western world not doing enough, because I think that of course everyone in Ukraine would want more for Ukraine now. We want the sky to be closed for us, for our children and elderly and adults and just people and pets and whoever, and the buildings and the cities and the streets not being under attack from the air constantly. Of course, we want more money, more weapon, more support to cut off Ukraine completely from the economical side of any communication. So yeah, we want more, and I think now it's important not to demand, but to ask for more. Yeah. So now my stance is, first of all, thank you for everything that has been done already, for all Ukrainian refugees all over the world being hosted, for all financial support, for all weapon support, for all humanitarian aid, for everything that has been done. But of course, we need more, and the more, the better, and the fastest, the better. Because for me, it's just unbelievable that in Europe, in the modern democratic world with its values, and in 21st century, there is no one who can just shut this crazy person who is killing people every day for no reason, basically. So it's weird to me that there are no, no forces, no leverage just to stop it immediately, to do that, just to stop it, just to stop it. So if anyone knows how to do that, please do that. If not, then just please continue doing as much as you can do on all levels. I mean, protests, sharing stories about Ukraine, telling the world that the war is going on, unfortunately, and people are getting hurt. So we need to keep talking and keep asking for more help.
Thank you, Alyona. That's very kind of you to share your story, to amplify thoughts from the Ukrainian side of things. And as I close this conversation, the one last thing I would like to kind of ask, less of a closing remark, but more of a difficult ask. Some of the media coverage shows that there has been somewhat not inclusive reaction towards refugees. Like, say, for example, people of color are not getting the same treatment as let's just say a more European-looking person. Did you personally see anything like that along the borders, or do you see a lot of togetherness and humanity prevailing?
I can only share my experience, and I can tell you that I was not paying attention to other people, because I was like, I had my hands full with my kid and my suitcase and my pets. But I can only say that what I experienced was beautiful on all stages of our trip. Everyone was very kind to us and very generous, and there are no words to explain how grateful I am for everyone who was involved in our story and who was and is still supporting us a lot. And I know there are some stories in media coverage, but I don't know anyone personally, so I can't comment. I can tell you, I can't comment on it, but I think that I'm just grateful for my story,
which is great, Alyona. And once again, I really hope the war comes to an end. I would say personally, I am also quite surprised that we're almost in April now, and this hasn't stopped, and there isn't enough influence across the world to stop it. And I hope there is a stop to this, and I hope the beautiful experience that you've had in stepping out, it's even more beautiful to go back to your country. And I hope Ukraine opens to the world as a peaceful, as a worth visiting, as an amazing place that it is. Thank you.
I think I think that when we win and this is all over, and when all of us who have moved out of the country will get back home, and we will be happy to host everyone who has been supporting us all over the world, and we will host you, and we will show you how beautiful and how amazing Ukraine is. So you will see.
I'm looking forward to see. Thank you so much, Alyona. On that note, I once again thank you.
In Ukraine, we don't say when the war is over. In Ukraine, we say when we win.
Sounds perfect. When it is. Thanks.
It's time to design, create, and build an inclusive club. If you enjoyed this dialogue, please share it as a care gift with your friends, family, and wider network. Your feedback is what makes this dialogue inclusive, really. So do subscribe.